Thank you for coming tonight, and welcome to the high school choir and band and strings and jazz band concert. We're going to start tonight with a song called Frobisher Bay. And this is an arrangement for four guys. Later you're going to hear the same song sung by women. And it's about shipping and whaling in the far north. And I found it very interesting to hear it sung from a men's perspective and then sung from a female's perspective. So what we have here is the guys singing Frobisher Bay.
Cold is the Arctic Sea, far are your arms from me. Long will this winter be, frozen in Frobisher Bay. Frozen in Frobisher Bay. One more whale, our captain cried. One more whale, then we'll beat the ice. But the winter star was in the sky. The seas were rough, the winds were high. And cold is the Arctic Sea, far are your arms from me. Long will this winter be, frozen in Frobisher Bay. Frozen in Frobisher Bay. Deep were the crashing waves that tore our whalers' mast away, and dark are these sunless days, waiting for the ice to break. And cold is the Arctic Sea, far are your arms from me. Long will this winter be, frozen in Frobisher Bay. Frozen in Frobisher Bay. Strange is the whaler's fate, to be safe from the raging waves, only to waste away, frozen in this lonely grave. And cold is the Arctic Sea, far are your arms from me. Long will this winter be, frozen in Frobisher Bay. Frozen in Frobisher Bay.
Good evening and welcome to the High School Wind Ensemble segment of tonight's concert. We'll be performing three pieces that are very contrasting in style. The first one is a piece based on the theme from the movie The Avengers. This is a light-hearted and fun piece that we started learning at the beginning of this year to help us to blend our balance of sounds and to work out how to mix in the playing of our new members. This piece will be conducted by Miss Knight.
The next piece that we will perform is called Song for Lindsay. This piece is very lyrical in style and is designed to create a sense of push and pull throughout by the use of many changes of time signature until it reaches a high point, then dies away at the conclusion of the work. This piece will feature solos from Alex on the flute and Sarab on French horn, and will be accompanied by Miss Braganza on piano.
During our rehearsals, we were able to be in touch with Andrew Boyson, the composer of the work and a professor at the University of New Hampshire. Dr. Boyson answered some questions about the piece and also offered us the following background information and performance tips. Dr. Boyson wrote, "This piece was written for my wife, who is a flute player. I wanted to create a sense of freedom and push and pull in the music and not really have the piece get going until quite far into it. The use of contrasting instruments and dynamics is designed to create a dramatic effect, which has to be played with freedom and flow to get the piece to really work. At the climax points of this piece, the player should really go for it, then be careful to calm down and fade away at the end to reveal the color of the piano. Please enjoy our rendition of Song for Lindsay."
The final piece our ensemble will perform tonight is called Equilibrium. The title is a perfect summary of what this piece is all about. It is at times all lined up and balanced, then it turns into a musical tightrope, with each section playing a part in keeping the piece together and helping to keep it from completely unraveling and falling apart. This piece has been a challenge to get together and it has been sometimes quite chaotic in rehearsals, although it is ready for you now. Please enjoy our final piece.
So this next piece is called Sicut Cervus by the 16th century composer Giovanni Palestrina. The text reads, "So as the deer searches and longs for the waters of the brook, so does my heart long for you."
Feeling quite relaxed after that beautiful Palestrina. So we're going to follow that with a piece by Mozart. And we chose this one for several, well, we kind of collaborated, I kind of picked it, but it's an early symphony in Mozart's creative work. It's Symphony number 29, so it's kind of pretty cool for these guys to think about. He was 18 and he'd already written 28 symphonies. So he was quite a accomplished and developed composer at the age of 18, which is kind of the age of some of these guys, so that's a bit of a challenge. This piece is also interesting because we're playing the first movement of this symphony, and it starts very gently and very quietly, and in contrast to most symphonies at that time, and later, I think this was 1774, later on usually start with a big bang. So this is Mozart kind of mixing it up a bit, starting with a beautiful octave actually. It's just two notes that are an octave apart, which is the most simple thing you can do in music. But as usual with Mozart, he puts his own slant on it. So this piece is really about, there's some very, very interesting academic commentary written about this piece, how it's about Mozart's 18-year-old self wrestling with his 50-year-old self, which he actually never made it to, right? Because he died in his 30s. So it's a very contrast between his crazy 18-year-old energy and kind of craziness that I tend to see sometimes from these guys at rehearsals, and then also some beautiful, sublime, unbelievably clear playing and lyrical playing. One of the commentaries talks about Mozartian lyricism, so we tend to fight about whether or not Mozartian is an adjective, we're not sure. Anyway, hopefully you'll enjoy this, and then we'll play a piece by Gustav Holst, an English composer with a German sounding name. So please enjoy the Mozart. relax a bit and really play into our instruments. The next piece we're doing is the first movement of a piece called St. Paul's Suite by Gustav Holst. And he was an English composer with German parents. His dad was kind of a famous harp composer, and he worked for about 30 years as a music teacher at St. Paul's Girls' School in London, which is, some of you probably know London, it's just around the corner from Hammersmith Tube in West London. And he basically wrote, I guess we know the piece The Planets. He wrote that really famous piece. That was his most famous piece that he wrote during his time as music teacher. What I think is an interesting fact about this piece, he wrote this as a thank you, seriously, as a thank you to his school administration for building him a soundproof recording working studio. It's kind of cool, right? So this was his piece to thank his orchestra, his girls in his orchestra, and to thank his school. So this is a jig. It's based on a lot of folk tunes, and these guys tell me that they think it sounds like Pirates of the Caribbean. So I'm pretty sure Gustav Holst had this down first before our friends Hans Zimmer and his colleague ripped it off for Pirates of the Caribbean. So please enjoy it. It's a lively piece.
Thank you. So this is Frozen in Frobisher Bay Part 2, now from the women's perspective. And I was telling them about how I grew up in the Pacific Northwest of the United States. And there, in some of the Victorian buildings along the coast, there are these things called widows' walks. And up on top of the Victorian homes are literally decks. And those were where the women would stand and wait for their husbands to come home from sea, whether from whaling or from fishing. And so I think of this as their song from on top of the widow's walk. And so lines like, strange is the whaler's fate to be saved from the raging waves, only to waste away, frozen in this lonely grave. And cold is the Arctic sea, far are your arms from me, long will this winter be, frozen in Frobisher Bay, frozen in Frobisher Bay.
Cold is the Arctic sea, far are your arms from me. Long will this winter be, frozen in Frobisher Bay, frozen in Frobisher Bay. One more whale our captain cried, one more whale and we'll beat the ice. But the winter star was in the sky, the seas were rough, the winds were high, and cold is the Arctic sea. Far are your arms from me, long will this winter be, frozen in Frobisher Bay, frozen in Frobisher Bay. Deep were the crashing waves that tore our whalers' masts away. These sunless days, waiting for the ice to break. And cold is the Arctic sea, far are your arms from me, long will this winter be, frozen in Frobisher Bay, frozen in Frobisher Bay. Strange is the whaler's fate to be saved from the raging waves, only to waste away, frozen in this lonely grave. And cold is the Arctic sea, far are your arms from me, long will this winter be, frozen in Frobisher Bay, frozen in Frobisher Bay.
Okay, we're the high school jazz band, and the first piece the jazz band would play is Stomping at the Savoy. This jazz standard was written in 1934 by and made famous by the legendary band leader and clarinet player Benny Goodman. It is named after the Savoy Ballroom in the Harlem neighborhood of New York City. This venue opened in 1926 and had a 10,000 square foot dance floor where many famous dance styles like the jitterbug was first made popular. This piece is built about a bass solo, which will be played by Sherry and Yoonji, and also features solos by Miss Knight on tenor sax and Nikki on piano.
This will be followed by September by the band Earth, Wind and Fire, and this was released as a single in 1978. This song is R&B and disco in style and has been covered many times in movies and TV shows, and even a few times on American Idol. We would like to thank Mr. Williamson for choosing this song to add to our set list. Our arrangement tonight has some great writing for the horn players and features our resident jazz band singer, Iman.
You remember the 21st night of September? Love was changing the minds of pretenders while we were chasing the clouds away. The bells were ringing in the key that our souls were singing while we danced in the night. Remember how the stars stole the night away. Oh, 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 Badia, say do you remember, Badia? September. Only blue talking love. Remember, love was here to stay. Oh, 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 Badia, say do you remember? Badia, dancing in September. Badia, never was a cloudy day. Badia, say do you remember? Badia, dancing in September. Badia, golden dreams were shiny days. Oh, 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 Badia, say do you remember? Badia, dancing in September. Badia, never was a cloudy day. Oh, Badia, say do you remember? Badia, dancing in September. Badia, never was shiny days.
Our next piece, Round Midnight, written by Thelonious Monk, is arguably the most recorded jazz standard of all time. It was apparently written when he was just 18, but only recorded 8 years later with the help of the famous jazz piano player, Bud Powell. This piece has been through quite a journey with versions by Dizzy Giuseppe and Miles Davis, continuing to help build its popularity. And later it was featured in a film score arranged by Herbie Hancock. Our version of this famous ballad will feature Gabriel on solo trumpet.
Mac the Knife is our final piece for this evening. This song, written by Kurt Weill, was originally part of the German composer's Threepenny Opera, which premiered in Berlin in 1928. This piece has traveled down quite an interesting pathway from being part of an opera to a jazz vocal classic. It is generally thought to have been first performed as a successful jazz piece with English lyrics by Louis Armstrong in 1955. This piece has been performed by many famous singers, including Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra, Bobby Darin, and in 1960, it won Ella Fitzgerald a Grammy Award. Please enjoy our final piece. Iman will join the band to perform our song with us.
Good evening. There is one more song, but I have a feeling once you hear it, I will not be able to compete with it. So I'm going to say thank you now. Thank you to our lighting, our sound, our video guys. They've done an amazing job tonight, so thank you. We have microphones, so that's always a plus. Thank you to Cecilia, who always manages to put all of this together flawlessly. Thanks to our setup crew, who turns our MPH into a recital hall and then back into an MPH tomorrow morning. And then finally, I think I'd like to thank our students, our choir students in the back, our wind ensemble, strings, and then the jazz band. Of course, none of this could be done without our talented teaching staff, Miss Amber, David, DL, and Judith. You guys have done a fabulous job tonight. Thank you very much. With that, I give you Mac the Knife.
Oh, the shark has pretty teeth, dear, and he shows them pearly white. Just a jackknife has McKeith, dear, and he keeps it way out of sight. When the shark bites with his teeth, dear, scarlet billows start to spread. Clever gloves, though, wears McKeith, dear, so you'll never see a trace of red on the sidewalk Sunday morning. Lies a body oozing light. Someone's creeping round the corner. Could that someone be old Mac the Knife? From a tugboat down by the river, a cement bag's dropping down. The cement's just there for the weight, dear. And old Mackie is back in town. Louis Miller disappeared, dear, after drawing out all his cash. Now McKeith spends just like a sailor. I wonder, did our boy do something rash? Gabriel Plata, Miel Marwa, Ollie Peachum, Lucy Brown. Oh, the line forms just on the right, dear. Now that Mackie is back